Welcome back to the National Hurricane Center. This is Ken Graham. We're live right here in our operations area in Miami, Florida. The time is 4:25 Central Time. Here's your latest information on Hurricane Ida. This is not over yet. We're just getting started with some of these impacts. We now still have 130 mile per hour winds. We made landfall around Port Fourchon and then over near Galliano, and then we're moving into the areas around Homa, and we still have 130 mile per hour winds. So significant impacts, wind impacts. Northwest movement at 10 miles an hour looks like the latest here. So we're not done yet. So we can't let our guard down. If we're in our safe place, we still need to stay there because we're nowhere near done with this situation. So here we are. There's the center of the storm where the most intense wind is, not just around the center of that eye wall, but around these concentric rings. Those are also portions of the eye wall, just intense amount of wind. So if we're still 130 miles an hour, and we're still moving northward, we're talking areas like Donaldsonville, we're talking about Baton Rouge, we're talking about Livingston Parish, maybe over to Tangipahoa Parish. Still going to see the possibility of getting these hurricane force winds, and if you don't see it sustained, we're talking about wind gusts, and that could be damaging. So you're still going to have structure damage. You can have trees down, power outages, not just on the coast, but well inland. I do want to say some of these winds are well outside the center. See these, how they look just like that, these rain bands of intense wind. So you're even seeing some wind gusts over in New Orleans, 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts. So dangerous to be outside. There's flying debris. There's things flying in the air. Just please stay inside. Stay in your shelter place because it's a dangerous situation associated with this storm. I want to get away from the center a little bit as well. Let's start looking at some of these rain bands well away from the center. They haven't moved much. So this slow movement here, very slow movement. What do we have the latest? We have 10 miles an hour, so moving slow. Notice there's not much progression east and west of some of these rain bands. So continuous amount of rain in these areas, and I have seen some tornado warnings in some of these rain bands as well. So that right front quadrant, that's where we've seen our tornadoes associated with this storm. Wanted to look at the latest forecast. Let's bring it up here. Here we are. So we're right here where we're looking at the radar. That's about the center point. Notice still staying a hurricane as we travel northward, and that becomes, you just got some issues, not just along the coast, but inland as well. And with time, by Monday afternoon, we'll be pretty close to around Vicksburg, Mississippi, and then we continue to travel into Tennessee by Tuesday, and all that moisture will continue to flow with that as well. So significant amount of wind, and here's the other thing too. We're not done with this storm surge. So let's see what's going on. Okay, so we have that landfall Port Fourchon, Galliano, center of the storm, approximately right here. You have that intense wind around the storm. You're still pushing water around. So some areas got that storm surge early. We saw that at Grand Isle. Other places, it's just slowly being pushed into every nook and cranny with time. So right here along the coast and inland, you can see some of that water filtered into that storm surge. Still life-threatening when it comes to this storm surge. We can see Port Fourchon over to the mouth of the river, 12 to 16 feet. Just a staggering amount of water, 8 to 12 from the mouth of the river to Bay St. Louis. And I want to cover this. It's important. Those winds are going to be around long enough because of that movement. You're pushing water through the Wrigley's into Lake Pontchartrain, 5 to 8 feet in Lake Pontchartrain. So places like Mandeville, places like Lacombe, Laplace, watch for this water very closely. Lake Maurepas, even 4 to 6 feet. The Mississippi Gulf Coast, Bay St. Louis to Ocean Springs, 5 to 8. And look at that, from Ocean Springs to the Mississippi-Alabama border, 4 to 7 foot of storm surge. We have another hazard. We're going to look at the rainfall. That's a life-threatening amount of rain. Storm totals, not surprising. We saw it on the radar. Right around that center area, some areas 10 to 20 inches of rain. Life-threatening. Turn around, don't drown. Do not be out on the roads with that kind of rain and that kind of flooding. The orange area here is a large area that could see up 6 to 10 inches of rain. So it's not just on the center here, it's in those rain bands that we pointed out on the actual radar. And for those of you watching from other parts of the country, I do want to mention this because this is significant. The inland flooding, often the second leading cause of fatalities in these tropical systems. Look what we're doing. This moisture has to go somewhere, and it is, through Tennessee, up into Kentucky, and eventually into West Virginia, Ohio, into Pennsylvania. Look at some of these areas here that you can see significant 6 to 10 inches of rain. With that terrain, that's flash flooding, and that's dangerous. So listen to those warnings, pay attention. If you're in your safe place, stay in that safe place. And if you lose power, there's going to be a lot of people losing power. Please use those generators properly. Keep them out of your house, out of the garage, outside, and away from open windows. Stay safe. We're going to be here helping you stay safe. This has been Ken Graham live at the National Hurricane Center.